Hey folks, this is Jeff with Real Country and Jeff and Melanie. I'm going to do a little segment today I like to call Tackle Box Tuesdays. We're going to start with a little history lesson. Back in 1976, I was in the 6th grade of elementary school, and it was a very important year in the history of our country. And this is no joke. People my age and older, we remember it, but everybody don't. We were celebrating the bicentennial of our country's Declaration of Independence. That year we had all kind of reenactments, made all the news. There was constantly TV shows showing everything. They had reenactments of the Boston Tea Party. Everything was the Minutemen. You couldn't even go to a 7-Eleven and get a Slurpee without getting special commemorative little plastic cups. And it was a good thing. It brought back an interest in the founding of our country and the forefathers and how this country got started. It was a year-long celebration, and the big whoopee at the end was on July the 4th. That had been 200 years from July the 4th, 1776 to 1976. They actually did a big long special on TV. I can remember we had a big barbecue, the whole family come over, and they had on television, they were just filling up, I believe it was the Boston Tea area and all, the harbor, with all the old classic ships sailing in. There was fireworks celebrations on TV like you couldn't imagine. Everything was great. Also in 1976, it was time for our presidential election. When it got down to the final part of the election process, it was the incumbent, President Gerald Ford, and he faced off with a Democrat, Jimmy Carter. And Jimmy Carter was from Plains, Georgia. Not a whole lot of miles from where we live. Jimmy Carter, nice man far as I know. He kind of got famous because he had a very toothy smile. Big, pretty white teeth. And he grinned and had the soft southern twang. And, he was lucky enough that when the election was over, he had been elected our 39th president. Well, the election was in November. Come January, he was sworn into office, and he served as our 39th president from, I believe it was, let's see here, my little cheat sheet. Let's see, from 1977 until 1981. He was famous for a lot of stuff. He had a brother named Billy that made a lot of headlines. Good man, but kind of a little embarrassing for a president. He was a good old boy from Georgia. Good man, but the big city folks kind of made fun of him, and I'm sure he probably did some things that wasn't right. But there was all kind of jokes about Southerners, and but in his heart, I believe Jimmy Carter was a very intelligent man. He wound up winning the Nobel Peace Prize before it was over. So he wasn't dumb. He knew what he was doing. But there was a lot of things making fun and, good-natured ribbing of a Southerner, from Georgia. And, of course, Georgia's famous for peanuts. Well, now let's get to the fishing side of this. Back when I was in school, somebody gave me this little button, and I stumbled across it. Jimmy Carter for president. That's a little picture of President Jimmy Carter. I've had this hanging on a little bulletin board out in my shop just as a keepsake since I was a kid. Thought about it, and that reminded me of the fishing tackle I want to talk about today. A company called Cordell made a lot of fishing tackle. The Big O, different other lures. A lot of them really great lures. With the right color combination, they were fantastic to catch bass on. I have a tackle box with all kind of favorite colors and different divers, shallow runners. Had one in particular had a Smoky Joe coloration. It was a gray little plug about that big, shallow runner, black streak on its back, and a little dot of red where the gills ought to be on the fish. It was fantastic for bass in small ponds. I caught a ton of good eating size fish. But I'm not sure if it was late 76 after the election or the start of 77 when President Carter actually took office. Cotton Cordell, he was a little bit like P.T. Barnum. He was a promoter. He was in it for the buck to make money. Well, at one time they say he was such a promoter, he even tried to get the Apollo astronauts to take some of his fishing tackle in space when they went to the moon so that he could have the reputation of having the first tackle company to go into outer space. Well, that didn't work. But when President Carter came along, they fashioned a lure they nicknamed the Prez. P-R-E-Z, the Prez. It is in the shape of a peanut. To my knowledge, there was two basic color combinations. One of them is tan, had little blue eyes, and the plastic bill of the lure that determines how deep it runs was white, and they had drawn teeth, smiling teeth across it. I purchased back in that day that plug. When I was a little boy, my daddy would give me $1 allowance a week, and for that I helped cut grass, I emptied the household garbage, I had a dog, I had to feed my dog, I had to clean up behind my dog, I had to water my dog, and at the end of the week, if I did all my chores, Daddy'd give me $1. Well, most of the year down here is hot. We can fish in warm weather almost 8 months out of the year. So I saved up my money, and it was $1 or $2, but I always went and tried to buy a crankbait plug and caught a lot of fish that way. Well, when this lure came out, it just caught my eye, and I bought the Prez. And this is the Prez. The one coloration is like a peanut, and the other one was like a crawdad. Same body design. But the crawdad had a dark brown top with orange and maybe a little white underneath. But here is the Prez. I'm going to try to get up here where you can see it. It's in the shape of a peanut. It got little blue eyes, and I'll hold it from the rear if I can do it without getting bit by the treble hooks. You see the smiley teeth of the Prez. And I know it's a joke. One of the outdoor magazines or people that keep records have actually voted this lure, the Prez, as one of the top 10 worst lures of all time. And I'm here to tell you they got a bad rap. I bought this little lure. Now I threw away the little plastic cardboard box because I put it right in my tackle box. I have fished with this lure. I love this lure. I don't remember if I ever actually caught a fish on this lure when I fished it, but I'm going to tell you that bright color of that tan peanut wibble wobbling was beautiful in the clear water down there where we fished at. It had a good swimming action. You couldn't ask for nothing no prettier. And I fished with this thing, and then after a little while of fishing with it, and the way I throw a crankbait, I throw it right in the middle of a treetop. I work it slowly, and if we ever got hung up, we'd go into the treetop and take the boat paddle or our hands, and we'd reach in there and make sure we got it loose. I don't think in my life I've ever lost a crankbait. Got hung up many times, but I'd always go in and get them out. But I just got to thinking one day, as beautiful as this come through the water and the big heavy structure I was fishing by, one day I was going to bring this joker real pretty by a big old log or stump. And knowing my luck, a big old monster bass would jump up there and get it and power dive and snap my line like a sewing thread, and then I'd lose my little lure. And they didn't put these out but just for maybe about a year or so. Now there's still plenty of them out there on the market. I looked a while ago. You can find them right now. eBay, places like that, Amazon. They range from $10 or $12 to $25 to $26. But I was just afraid I'd lose it. So I actually retired this lure because I knew one day it might be like a little collector's item, trivia, something like that. But the main thing was I didn't want to lose it because I figured a good bass would hit this thing and I'd have the bad luck to lose it. But like I said, it's a neat little old plug. You still can find them every now and then. And I just thought that was neat. And it's hard to believe because I still feel just like I did when I was, I probably got this and I was either in 76, I was somewhere about maybe 11. Somewhere between, I guess, 11 to 12 years of age. And I'm just turned 55 yesterday. So I've had this lure just like that. There's nothing wrong with it. I've had it hanging, like I said, on a little bulletin board down in my barn next to that little badge I showed all these years. I just think it's neat. Like I said, I may never catch a fish with it. It may never be worth nothing because I probably will never sell it. When I get something old like that, it would really have to be worth big bucks for me to even think about selling it. I just like old stuff. I think old things are neat. One day, when I'm dead and gone, my boys might sell it and may make them $2 or $3 on it. Or they may just throw it in the garbage and that's the end of it. But I just like old-timey stuff. They don't make stuff like this nowadays. I just think it's a neat part of our history. Back in the day, we had a lot of fun, the grown-ups did, with Jimmy Carter. He was a good president, may not have pleased everybody, may have not done what everybody wanted to do, but I don't think there ever really was a scandal about him with the ugly side of life. But like I said, I just thought that little plug was neat. Thought I'd share that with y'all today on my little Tackle Box Tuesday. And like I said, when I have this little segment, and we're going to try to do this every week, I may be setting up a tackle box. I may be reviewing, like today, an old lure, an old rod, an old reel. If I can get my hands on some new stuff that I think's good that you might enjoy, we'll try to start reviewing a little new things as well. We'll try to show you how to use stuff, maybe tying some knots, maybe how to clean a reel, anything we can to help folks that don't really know what they're doing, trying to learn, the youngsters wanting to get into it. And like I said, this lure right now, back when I was a little boy, was probably $1 or $2. That was it. I'm sure if you found one of these at a flea market or something, there's somebody that'll charge you top dollar, but you could probably still find lures like this or lures similar. Just the age part of it. You can pick up one if you just want to get into collecting, for $1 to $2 to $3 to $4. And there are clubs, I know there's one on Facebook, of antique lure collecting clubs. And you just, you can join and nothing else, just post a picture of your favorite old lure or something interesting you come across. But just thought I'd share that with y'all. Like I said, we'll be trying to have another little Tackle Box Tuesday segment every week. But hopefully everybody enjoyed this little bit of history and seeing an old lure. If you get a chance, go fishing. Take a kid fishing. It's one of the greatest things you can do and one of the few sports you can do just about, just about as long as you're here, you can go fishing. But like I said, if you like the videos, please hit the like button. Click subscribe. We can use all the help we can get. Me and the Prez is fixing to sign on out of here. Hopefully you'll see us on down the road. And if the good Lord's willing the creek don't rise, we'll see y'all next time. Thank y'all.